Ahu! Seo Guksang got up from his seat, pressing his head with both hands. He wasn't sure how much alcohol he drank yesterday. He was in a good mood and exchanged drinks with the escort warriors, but at some point, his memory was cut off. That's how much he drank alcohol. He was so happy that he formed a close relationship with Yu Jiaicheon. The merchant group exerted a great influence on Jeonghu. Although the merchant company is now being run by his son, it was clear that he would give a lot of work to Samyang Escort Corps if he knew that they were in close acquaintance with Yu Jiaicheon. Ha ha ha. His head hurt, but he laughed out loud. Seo Guksang got up from his bed. When he came out to the restaurant on the first floor, he saw his escort group already out. They were eating something to appease their bitter stomachs. Have you come out, Lord? Are you all right? They looked at Seo Guksang and said. Seo Guksang shook his head and sat down. I'm not okay at all. Given how much we drank, ha. It was a pleasant day, wasn't it? Yes, but my head hurts so much. Eat a spoonful of soup. The heat of the soup will make you feel better. The escort warriors pushed a bowl filled with soup in the middle of the table towards Seo Guksang. Seo Guksang did not hesitate and drank the soup. That feels good. You're right. Seo Guksang admired the taste of the soup. He slurped the soup in front of him. When his stomach became more full, his headache disappeared. I think I can live a little bit now. So do we. Ha ha. Seo Guksang, who was smiling broadly, suddenly looked around. Come to think of it, I don't see him. Who? Oh, are you talking about Chief Escort Sagong? Yeah. Did anyone see him? I think I saw him halfway through yesterday, but I haven't seen him since. Who? Seo Guksang let out a sigh. When he thought of his nephew, his merry mood disappeared. Sagong Yun's family could not handle him anymore, so he took him in. He deliberately placed 2 chief escorts to monitor and stop him from causing trouble. Perhaps that's why Sagong Yun managed to stay quiet without causing any trouble on their way to Chengdu. He didn't cause any trouble again, did he? How can he cause trouble in the land of Sichuan? Maybe he just went out to get some fresh air. I hope so. Even with the escort warrior's consolation, Seo Guksang could not hide his worried expression. But he still tried to stop worrying since he knows that worrying doesn't change anything. One by one, the escort warriors, who had just woken up, came down. The inside of the restaurant quickly filled up with members of Samyang Escort Corps. Seo Guksang smiled as he looked at the restaurant filled with escort warriors. Since they have established a relationship with Yu Jiaicheon, if they can use the opportunity well, they will be able to substantially grow the reputation of their escort company. With a little more effort, the Samyang Escort Corps will grow to the point where it can stand shoulder to shoulder with the other strong and prominent escort companies. It was a moment he always dreamed of, now that he thought that day was not far away. A smile came to his lips, but at that moment, someone's voice broke his fantasy. Lord. As soon as he heard the urgent voice from outside, Seo Guksang sensed that something bad had happened. As if to prove his ominous premonition, someone kicked the door and rushed in. A man covered in blood was carried on his back. Seo Guksang recognized the man's identity at once, Yun. The man drooping in his own blood was clearly his nephew Sagong Yun. Seo Guksang hurriedly hugged Sagong Yun and asked, "What happened? How did Yun become like this?" "I don't know either. When I went outside, he was already lying in the front yard." "In the yard?" Seo Guksang hurriedly looked at Sagong Yun's whole body. He was covered in blood, but he didn't have many wounds. There was only one visible wound. However, it was not in a good place. Oh my god. His dantian, there was a deep scar on his dantian, which is the foundation of a warrior. The wound was so deep that just by looking at it, they knew that the injury could not be healed. If his dantian is destroyed like this, it would be impossible for him to even dream of gathering his internal energy. His life as a warrior is already completely over. Yun. How did this happen? Seo Guksang shook Sagong Yun to wake him up. But Sagong Yun didn't even respond. What the hell happened? Seo Guksang lost his mind in the sudden tragedy, but his tragedy did not end there. Suddenly, the owner of the guest house came up to Seo Guksang and said, "Mr. Seo, please leave the guest house immediately." "What do you mean? Why are you asking us to suddenly leave? Every member of the Sumyong Escort Corps should vacate the guest house before lunch." "No, look. We are the guests of Mr. Yu. He said it himself that we should stay here. It is also the command of Mr. Yu for you to leave the room." "What? Mr. Yu sent a person this morning and said, 'Make all people belonging to the Sumyong Escort Corps leave.' I have cut off all businesses with the Sumyong Escort Corps." "Ha!" Seo Guksang couldn't hide his bewildered expression. Yu Jiaicheon was a man famous for his faithfulness. So how could he change his words overnight? It doesn't make any sense. Seo Guksang handed Sagong Yun over to a nearby escort warrior and said, "It's impossible for Mr. Yu to do that. He's a trustworthy person. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. I've just said what Mr. Yu said. I will visit Mr. Yu myself. There must be some kind of misunderstanding. I'm sure if I meet and talk with him, everything will be resolved. Mr. Seo will take care of that, but please still leave the guest house before lunch." The owner of the guest house was stubborn. Seo Guksang couldn't quite understand the series of events. Sagong Yun, who returned with a fatal wound, and Yu Jiaicheon, whose attitude changed overnight. Is it possible that the two events are related to each other? Suddenly, an ominous feeling came over him. Seo Guksang hurriedly left the guest house and headed for the Snowcloud Villa. The door to the Snowcloud Villa was firmly shut. Seo Guksang knocked hard on the door. "I am Seo Guksang of Sumyong Escort Corps. I want to see Mr. Yu, so please open the door." He knocked on the door for a while. But no matter how much he knocked, the tightly closed door did not open. Seo Guksang sat down in despair. Why? Why did he change his mind? The atmosphere was obviously good until yesterday. Yu Jiaicheon was happy that he obtained a precious treasure, so he did him a favor. No matter how much he thought about it, he couldn't figure out why he had changed his mind. At that moment, the door of the Snowcloud Villa was opened slowly and someone stuck out his head. He was the steward of the Snowcloud Villa. Seo Guksang got up quickly. "I am Seo Guksang, the owner of Sumyong Escort Corps." "I know, Lord Seo. I want to meet Mr. Yu. Please let me meet him. The Lord told me to bring you, so I came out. Please come inside." "Thank you." Seo Guksang hurriedly followed the steward into the Snowcloud Villa. He saw Yu Jiaicheon in the training hall where he met him yesterday. Seo Guksang knelt in front of Yu Jiaicheon. "Mr. Yu, why did you change your mind? Did we make a mistake by any chance?" "Lord Seo, if you tell me, I will correct it. So please, don't cut off your relationship with our escort company." "Who? Lord Seo, do you think I'm doing this because of my personal feelings? Is that not it? Lord Seo, I am a person who values relationships more than anyone else. Lord Seo is definitely a good person, and has a lot of loyalty." "Then why? Your nephew, is it related to Yun?" "Who? Please, tell me. That way I know how to deal with it." Despite Seo Guksang's pleas, Yu Jiaicheon's expression did not change. "I will explain what will happen to Lord Seo and the Sumyong Escort Corps from now on. All of the guest houses in Chengdu will no longer accept Lord Seo and Sumyong Escort Corps." "What? No merchant company in Sichuan province will also be willing to do business with the Sumyong Escort Corps. There is also a high probability that the Sumyong Escort Corps will not receive any transportation requests from here. Mr. Yu, all the other sects in Chengdu may also be hostile to you. With this, I pray that Lord Seo will lead his family out of Sichuan as soon as possible." "What are you talking about? Lord Yu, please tell me clearly." "Hugh, Yu Jiaiqian sighed. His face was full of conflict. After thinking for a while, he opened his mouth. Okay. Listen to me carefully. Your nephew crossed someone else's house fence last night to rape a girl. So, the problem is that the owner of the house is a very scary person. Tell me about the house. I will go visit him and apologize. No, you better not go. He is an unforgiving man. There's actually someone Yu Jiaiqian is afraid of. It's not just this old man. Everyone in Sichuan is afraid of him. And only a few people like this old man know who he really is. He may have only punished your nephew for now, but if he changes his mind, the Sumyong escort corps could easily be wiped out in an instant. Never ignore this old man's advice. I've never seen anyone more terrifying than him in my entire life. Who the hell is he? Don't even try to know. When you leave Chengdu, forget everything that happened today. Don't even dream of taking revenge for your nephew. And don't ever return to Sichuan. With those words, Yu Jiaiqian shut his mouth firmly. Xiao Guksang saw the deep fear on Yu Jiaiqian's face. It was clear that he was really afraid of the unknown man. Yu Jiaiqian was a person who had gone through all sorts of trials since birth. The merchant group also has gone through countless dangerous things to build up to what it is today. Although he retired from the front line, his guts did not diminish. Rather, his courage has grown, and his mind has become more sharp. If he showed his fear to this extent, it meant that he was really afraid of the unknown man. Xiao Guksang realized that there was no point in talking anymore. And he felt that Yu Jiaiqian's advice was sincere. You damn child. Who the hell did you mess with? Xiao Guksang insulted his nephew, who caused all this, and went out of his way. Only after he disappeared did Yu Jiaiqian let out a sigh. Yu Jiaiqian suddenly looked at the entrance and said cautiously, "Is this enough?" "I think it's still a little lacking, but I'll be satisfied with this much after seeing the look on your face." A 6 or 7-year-old boy walked in. The boy with the 7 rings around his neck was Soma. As Soma approached, Yu Jiaiqian's shoulders trembled. He knew very well how terrifying this bright-faced boy was. One day, 3 children suddenly appeared in Chengdu. A blind girl, a boy with his all-black eyes, and a boy much smaller than the others. When they first showed up in Chengdu, no one cared. Chengdu was a very large city, so children who lost their parents and became orphans would often come here to find a place to eat and live. Those children would often have the same ending. They would either join the underworld or be beaten to death while wandering. People thought the same thing would happen to those 3 children. In particular, the blind girl has a strange charm, so she is more likely to become a target of men's lusts. In fact, numerous men had already approached and tried to take their chances on the blind girl, but not a single one survived. The 3 children were not just poor orphans, their power was beyond people's imagination. With just 3 of them, they devastated Chengdu's underworld. In the back alley, the gangsters who used to exert their influence disappeared without a trace for a long time that people thought them to be dead. But soon, they reappeared and acted as the faithful hands of the children. This way, the 3 children quickly dominated the underworld of Chengdu. When this happened, some of the sects in Chengdu tried to come forward and punish the children, but none of them actually dared to act, because there was a man behind the children. From last year to this year, he was present in all of the major incidents that occurred in Sichuan province. The closed-door isolation of the Amei sect and Qingqing sect, the bloody incident in Chengdu, and although it sounds unbelievable, there were rumors circulating that he had also destroyed the Xilialian temple, the ruler of the western region. He was a being of fear. The warriors of the Chengdu were afraid to even dare to speak his name, the living god of death, the Reaper. The people of Chengdu called the man that way, and they thought of the 3 children as the limbs of the Reaper. Among them, the brightest yet cruelest child was currently right in front of him, Soma, the little devil.